Okay, 4.6. Ajopi san avyayatma bhutanam ishvaropi san prakritim swam adhishtaya sambhavamyatma mayaya. Although I am unborn, aja, aja means unborn. Avyaya atma, avyaya atma. My transcendental body never deteriorates, avyaya, without deterioration. Bhutanam, Ishwaropi. And I am the Lord, Ishvara, Supreme Lord of all the living entities, of all the Bhuta. The Son. Sambhavami Atma Maya. Although I am all this, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. Okay. Although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all living entities, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. Actually, I hear Atma Mayaya means I Sambhavami, I incarnate Atma Mayaya by my internal energy. Atma Mayaya by my internal energy. Okay, purport. The Lord has spoken about the peculiarity of his birth. Although he may appear like an ordinary person, he remembers everything of his many past births. Whereas a common man cannot remember what he has done even a few hours before. If someone is asked what he did exactly at the same time one day earlier, it would be very difficult for a common man to answer immediately. He would surely have to dredge his memory to recall what he was doing exactly at the same time one day before. And yet men often dare claim to be God or Krishna. Prabhupada is saying simple thing like remembrance only we don't have. And foolishly we think that we are God. One should not be misled by such meaningless claims. This is very interesting, right? So many people, so many intelligent people, or so-called intelligent people, they are also misled by such claims, and they say, "Okay, I'm in illusion. And this illusion goes, then I remember that I'm the Supreme Lord. I'm the Supreme Lord, but I'm now under the influence of Maya. This is my Leela." All kinds of things they speculate. One should not be misled by such meaningless claims. Then again, the Lord explains his Prakriti or his form. Prakriti means nature as well as Swarupa or one's own form. Swarupa Siddhi. So Swarupa means one's own form. The Lord says that he appears in his own body. He does not change his body as the common living entity changes from one body to another. The conditioned soul may have one kind of body in the present birth, but he has a different kind of body, different body in the next birth. In the material world, the living entity has no fixed body, but transmigrates from one body to another. The Lord, however, does not do so. Whenever he appears, he does so in the same original body by his internal potency. The same body. It's the same original transcendental body. And that is why this word avatara means to come down, basically. Actually, incarnate is not the best. It doesn't bring about the meaning clearly. Actually, it means just coming down. Avatara means coming down. Carnate means like taking up a body of flesh, which actually does not hold good, but English doesn't provide for any other words for avatara. So we use incarnate, but actually it should mean come down. So he appears so in the same original body. So just that he appears in, and this is also prakata, aprakata, avyakta, avyakta. He's always there. He's everywhere, and he makes himself visible in that sense by his internal potency. That means that he's not under the control of external potency. He's under the control of internal potency. Yogamaya. In other words, Krishna appears in this material world in his original eternal form with two hands holding a flute. So Prabhupada is clarifying here. Krishna's original form is two-handed and he holds a flute. He appears exactly in his eternal body, uncontaminated by this material world. We are all forced to take birth in this material world by under the control of material nature. Krishna doesn't have any such problem. And his body is not contaminated, even though he's in this atmosphere of contamination. His body is not contaminated. Although he appears in the same transcendental body and is the Lord of the universe, it still appears that he takes his birth like an ordinary living entity. It appears like that, but actually when we read about Krishna's appearance, Krishna doesn't take birth like a normal child, like, from the womb of the mother, physical process, etc. He just appears in front of Vasudeva and Devaki. Right? And even before that, he enters the heart of Vasudeva. And from Vasudeva's heart, he then goes to the heart of Devaki. And then he appears in his four-handed form. Which child would appear in four arms, with a helmet, with beautiful curly hair, and with Shankha, Chakra, Gada, Padma, with his Kaustuba Mani, Srivatsa, saffron cloth. So he's not an ordinary living entity. He just takes birth like an ordinary living entity. And although his body does not deteriorate like a material body, it still appears that Lord Krishna grows from childhood to boyhood and from boyhood to youth. So this is also very astonishing. So in the spiritual world, there is no Krishna's birth. So there is no Janmashtami. But in the material world, because generally people take birth and they have to grow, etc., Krishna follows that pattern. So in some sense, he takes birth, then grows from childhood to boyhood, boyhood to youth. And then attracts, does beautiful pastimes which attract people, which can attract people towards him. Krishna's Balya Leela is very attractive. Anybody will get attracted if they hear attentively. But he, astonishingly enough, he never goes beyond youth, because that is his eternal age. This is eternal Kishora. He's a Kishora, Kishori. They're at that age eternally. So he doesn't go beyond that. While in the calculation of the Bhuloka, he was here for 125 years, but he did not grow beyond its youth. At the time of the Battle of Kurukshetra, he had many grandchildren at home, or in other words, he had sufficiently aged by material calculations. Still, he looked just like a young man, 20 or 25 years old. We never see a picture of Krishna in old age, because he never grows old like us, although he is the oldest person, Adi Purusha, in the whole creation, past, present, and future. Neither his body nor his intelligence ever deteriorates or changes. So for us, both our body and our intelligence both deteriorate. As we grow old, our ability to comprehend, our ability to rationalize, everything decreases along with the body. Brain also deteriorates. Therefore, it is clear that in spite of his being in the material world, he is the same unborn eternal form of bliss and knowledge, changeless in his transcendental body and intelligence. And that can be seen in the way Krishna enacted his pastimes. Actually, his appearance and disappearance are like the sun's rising, moving before us and then disappearing from our eyesight. When the sun is out of sight, we think that the sun has set, and when the sun is before our eyes, we think that the sun is on the horizon. Actually, the sun is always in its fixed position. But owing to our defective, insufficient senses, we calculate the appearance and disappearance of the sun in the sky. Because Lord Krishna's appearance and disappearance are completely different from that of any ordinary common living entity, it is evident that his eternal blissful knowledge by his internal potency, and he is never contaminated by material nature. The Vedas also confirm that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is unborn, yet he still appears to take his birth in multi-manifestations. The Vedic supplementary literatures also confirm that even though the Lord appears to be taking his birth, he is still without change of body. In the Bhagavatam, he appears before his mother as Narayana, with 4 hands and decorations with 6 kinds of full opulences. His appearance in his original eternal form is his causeless mercy bestowed upon the living entities so that they can concentrate on the Supreme Lord as he is, and not on mental concoctions or imaginations, which the impersonalist wrongly thinks the Lord's forms to be. So, to avoid all these concoctions, imaginations, Lord appears himself. The word Maya or Atma Maya refers to Lord's causeless mercy, according to Vishwakosha dictionary. Lord is conscious. So this is also very nice. So Atma Maya means by his own causeless mercy. He appears by his own causeless mercy. He is not forced to appear. The Lord is conscious of all of his previous appearances and disappearances, but a common living entity forgets everything about his past body as soon as he gets another body. He is the Lord of all living entities because he performs wonderful and superhuman activities while he is on this earth. Therefore, the Lord is always the same absolute truth and is without differentiation between his form and self. Between his form and self means both are spiritual, or between his quality and body. So everything is spiritual about the Lord, so there is no difference. The question may now be raised as to why the Lord appears and disappears in this world. This is explained in the next verse. So this is very important. Atma Maya, by his internal energy in his own original transcendental form, though he seems to be born and grows, etc., his transcendental body doesn't undergo any change. Which means that it is spiritual. It remains spiritual. Okay. 4.7. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirvavati bharata abhyuttanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. So this explains why Krishna descends. The word Srijami is significant here. Srijami cannot be used in the sense of creation. Because according to the previous verse, there is no creation of Lord's form of our body, since all of the forms are eternally existent. Because some people say that Srijami means, okay, it is created. So Lord's body is created. So he's like one of us. No, but Prabhupada is explaining, because in the previous verse, Krishna already said it, Atma Maya. So why would Srijami mean creation? So Srijami means that the Lord manifests himself as he is. It's just manifestation. Although the Lord appears on schedule, namely at the end of the Dwapar Yuga of the 28th millennium of the 7th Manu in one day of Brahma. 28th millennium of the 7th Manu in one day of Brahma. Once in a day of Brahma in one universe. He has no obligation to adhere to such rules and regulations because he is completely free to act in many ways as at his will. He therefore appears by his own will whenever there is a predominance of irreligiosity and a disappearance of true religion. While there is a schedule, he is not forced to appear. And we'll understand from other scriptures that actually this Paritranaya, this work is actually belongs to Vishnu. It's not the work of Krishna. So because when Krishna appears, all the Vishnu, all other forms are in Krishna. So Krishna's appearance also coincides with Vishnu's appearance. So all the Vishnus enter Krishna. So Vishnu has to appear when there is predominance of religiosity and disappearance of true religion. Principles of religion are laid down in the Vedas, and any discrepancy in the matter of properly executing the rules of the Vedas makes one irreligious. This is very important. People talk about themselves being religious, but religious means that they have to know what is there in the Vedas, but hardly anybody knows what is there in the Vedas. So they cannot really claim to be religious. In the Bhagavatam, it is stated that such principles are the laws of the Lord. Only the Lord can manufacture a system of religion. The Vedas are also accepted as originally spoken by the Lord himself to Brahma from within his heart. Therefore, the principles of dharma or religion are the direct orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Dharmam tu Sakshat Bhagavat Pranitam. These principles are clearly indicated throughout the Bhagavad Gita. The purpose of the Vedas is to establish such principles under the order of the Supreme Lord. And the Lord directly orders at the end of the Gita that the highest principle of religion is to surrender unto Him only and nothing more. The Vedic principles push one towards complete surrender unto Him, and whenever such principles are disturbed, Lord appears. So here Krishna is describing what actually that dharma means, what actually that religiosity means. Religiosity means surrender to Krishna, and irreligiosity means people not surrendering to Krishna. When people stop surrendering to Krishna, then irreligiosity increases. When Krishna appears to teach people how to surrender or to tell people that they have to surrender. Of course, how to surrender, then he comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to teach. From the Bhagavatam, we understand that Lord Buddha is the incarnation of Krishna who appeared when materialism was rampant and materialists were using the pretext of the authority of the Vedas. Although there are certain restrictive rules and regulations regarding animal sacrifice for particular purposes in the Vedas, people of demoniac tendencies still took to animal sacrifice without reference to Vedic principles. Lord Buddha appeared in order to stop this nonsense and to establish the Vedic principles of non-violence. Therefore, each and every avatar or incarnation of the Lord has a particular mission, and they're all described in the revealed scriptures. No one should be accepted as an avatar unless he is referred to by scriptures. It is not a fact that the Lord appears only on Indian soil. He can manifest himself anywhere and everywhere and whenever he desires to appear. In each and every incarnation, he speaks as much about religion as can be understood by the particular people under the particular circumstances. But the mission is the same, to lead people to God consciousness and obedience to the principles of religion. Sometimes he descends personally and sometimes he sends his bona fide representative in the form of his son or servant or himself in some disguised form. The principles of the Bhagavad Gita were spoken to Arjuna and for that matter to other highly elevated persons because he was highly advanced compared to ordinary persons in other parts of the world. 2 plus 2 equals 4 is a mathematical principle that is true in the beginner's arithmetic class and in the advanced class as well. Still, there are higher and lower mathematics. In all incarnations of the Lord, therefore, the same principles are taught, but they appear to be higher and lower in varied circumstances. The higher principles of religion begin with acceptance of the 4 orders and 4 statuses of social life, varnashrama, as will be explained later. The whole purpose of the mission of incarnations is to arouse Krishna consciousness everywhere. Such consciousness is manifest and non-manifest only under different circumstances. Okay, anybody has any questions?